And the Hangout is now live. Good. After all that technical difficulty, we are up. All right. Warning, spoilers ahead. Constant Collectible hereby is absolved of responsibility of any content spoiled for the listener and viewer. Welcome to episode 8. I'm Simon. As always, I'm joined with Chad.
Hello, everybody. Good
Hello,
morning.
everybody. All right. So in this episode of episode 8, we are going to talk about Star Wars Rebels season 3, episode 11, otherwise known as Ghost of Geonosis, which was a two-parter. What's that?
Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, so it's a two-parter, and we're also going to talk about the new season, the new show called Taboo, season 1, episode 1, known as Shovels and Keys. Let's start with the show that we have been talking about, which is Star Wars Rebels, that finally came back to us this season. And I'm going to say this right off the bat. It's really cool to get a certain character in there, Saw Gerrera, back. It was nice to get Forrest Whitaker to voice him. But these 2 episodes for me fell flat. They just didn't have enough to bring me back in. So I just needed to clear the air.
I will say that they were a disappointment. This being, the first episodes back from the winter break. The action really wasn't there. The storyline was a little weak. I think there were 2 great things that happened in this episode. One, we had Forrest Whitaker. The second one was that the little Geonosian dude actually drew out the Death Star in the dirt. And so we saw the first inkling of what is to be the Death Star within Star Wars Rebels. So
Yes.
it's going to probably lead up to Rogue One.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is kind of funny, too, because all the characters thought it was something else. They're like,
Right.
Oh, it's not this egg that you're trying to protect. It's not this canister that you're showing us. We as a viewer said Death Star.
Yeah.
But in the show, because they don't know, of course it wasn't. So that was kind of cool. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, but I think you're right. The episodes were a little flat. There was some cool stuff here and there. Maybe it was because we were super excited to have it back. But yeah, I'm hoping, this Saturday's episode is going to be a lot nicer. Looks like we have Thrawn coming back in this episode. So, big Thrawn fan. So I'm hoping for something that's going to pick up. But we see that, though, within the Star Wars Rebels, is that they have some episodes here and there that are just super flat, but then it picks right back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I have high hopes for at least this weekend.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the premise for this one is we're coming back, or just coming off of Rogue One, is after finding a missile rebel team member, which was Saw Gerrera, the Ghost crew discovers another surprise on Geonosis, which is one of the Geonosians are still alive, and that they want to find out why did the Empire take off? Why did they obliterate these basically engineers, and what are they trying to hide?
Which, if you read Catalyst, the prequel to Rogue One, you would know what really happened to them. That was kind of like, if you didn't read the book, you're going to be kind of in this dead zone. You're not going to know what really happened. But if you did read it, you would know precisely what happened and why, and how this one little guy possibly survived with the Queen Egg.
Okay. Yes, which was a big surprise, is that here we have several characters who go further and further in. They find Saw. Actually, Saw finds them, saves them. From also, we had the appearance of the droid army. They were still there. They were still alive. They assumed that those guys had killed off this rebel platoon, or whatever you want to call it, which Saul then verifies, yes, my guys got taken out by them. Saw saves our main characters, Ezra. He saves Rex and also Kanan. Kanan's trying to say, okay, we've done our mission. That's what we were told to do, is come down here, find Saw Gerrera. But Rex and Ezra want to go further in. They want to go deeper, after listening to what Saw says and what he's seen and everything like that, which I thought was kind of cool. You had this division between the ranks, and Kanan just was like, okay, I'll go along with it. I'll go along with it. That's fine. I'll go, I'll just keep going. Then they find that there's this Geonosian that they find, and they start chasing him. They go further and further and further into the caverns, and then they finally capture him. And then the story for me kind of at least picks up a little bit, because then here we are giving us a little insight into what is going on here, what has happened. Because remember, they're basically doing two missions. They've completed the first one, which was to find Saw, but then the other one is to, what was Saw supposed to be doing? Let's finish out what he was doing. They give us a little bit of insight on Saw's methods and how he can go off the deep end, which if you've seen Rogue One, we know this, and that's what they talk about. So I liked that aspect of the show. I liked where they were taking that, but there was something missing, and I don't know what it was. And I just, honestly, with the 2 episodes back to back, I felt bored.
Yeah, like, and we said it earlier, it's a big disappointment, and I like the fact that they're tying Saw into the character that Forrest Whitaker did portray in Rogue One. I am, as this series goes on, I'm more and more agitated and irritated with Ezra. As you know, I call him Suckboy. And of course, our friend Shark, I think he likes Ezra, and I just don't.
Yeah.
As time goes on, it's in my eyes such a wasted character. I understand what they're doing with him, why they're doing this with him, and I understand why they're writing his attitude and his, the way the character dialogue goes, but I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. It's getting old, and you see a lot of this within some of these, anime, but I'm just kind of irritated with it. I'm tired of it. I have my favorites. I like Kanan. I like how he has progressed since being blinded. I like, of course, the Beam. So, and Thrawn is really panning out to be a well-established character too. So, yeah, it just fell flat.
Yeah,
it sucked. There are some cool aspects to it that you talked about, and also recovering that shield generator that they can use for their base. That was, a cool aspect, but it was just kind of a so-so episode for me.
Yeah, and same for me. And I'm just like, okay, it's kind of a bummer that that's how it came back to. I mean, when you watch that preview, you're just like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. And then you get this episode and you go, oh, all right, maybe next week will be better.
Yeah, they showed the best things in the preview,
I think, okay, so probably for me, though, is as the story progresses, you have them find the Geonosian. The Geonosian's going to show them some other things, only because Saw is like torturing him every so often after locking him up, shocking him, all that stuff. You find out that he is hiding an egg, and it's a queen egg. And I love the aspect that they're like, you know what, these guys, regardless of whatever they've done for the Empire and they got wiped out, they don't deserve to be eradicated. They don't deserve to be wiped out. I loved that, because that is, within the Jedi training, everybody is, worth something and should deserve to keep going. So I liked that. And I don't know if she was new, but she felt new, is that commander of the ship that came in when they found out that Ghost was on the ship. They played her for a fool, but of course it's the Empire. You play them all for a fool because they are just so narrow-minded. They send in new characters that I don't think we've seen before.
No,
where
we
they
haven't
call
yet.
troopers or rocket troopers,
Yeah.
right? This is where it actually was good. They send in the rocket troopers, and out comes Sabine. Oh my gosh, that was probably the best part of the thing. And what I think also added to it is Ezra going, "Oh, they're in trouble now."
Yeah.
Because when you've seen previous episodes, like my daughter and I were caught up to these episodes. She hasn't seen them yet. We got excited because this is my second go around, and I'm actually liking it more the second time than I did the first time watching these. When she gets her jetpack, she got stoked. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, she finally gets one. She hasn't shut up about wanting to get one. Now she has it." We've seen her use it when they had the super commandos, basically. Um, because she gets it from them and she gets all upset. Oh man, they shot my jetpack. And she, of course, apparently she fixed it. But watching her use it in this episode and wipe out that entire, group of rocket troopers was awesome.
Oh, it's very classic Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
It was very classic Jango Fett, really. Because Django was the dual wield, pistol shooter. So, yeah, I liked it. And of course once she was done, she landed back on the Ghost, and Ezra made the comment, "I want one of those." She goes, "I know."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind
So
of funny.
it had its moments, but that was probably one of the best moments in that whole episode, that whole two-parter. Um, which continues to show us how she's progressing as a character and how much stronger she is getting. Now, of course, with watching the preview, she's going to have more training with the help of Kanan. We see some things that are coming. She's a very strong character. We just talked about strong characters in the show for Constant Collectible that aired earlier. Um, Seeing these female characters, you've got Hera, who's in charge of the Ghost. Great character. I love that character. Sabine, powerful female character. You got these two strong female characters that Disney has been pumping out lately, and I can't wait to see where she goes. As we progress, does she stay with them? Does she just decide, what, now because I have the black saber, or do I now go rule my people, which is why we don't see her in Rogue or don't hear about her or anything. I mean, there's speculations left and right, but I love where they're taking her. They're making her such a tough character.
Yeah, I happen to love the character, and I like the fact that she does have the dark saber. You've seen the previews for what's coming for the rest of the season, and she's holding what appears to be Ezra's saber while she's going, toe to toe with someone who's holding the dark saber. Looks like someone from possibly her clan. But I like the fact that they have said that the cast of Rebels will continue after they're done with the series. They'll be written into other things. We'll see them, but they'll be split up. And I'm hoping that Sabine will be one of them who maybe reattaches herself to her mom's clan with the Mandalorians. And we talked about this not only in a group chat with Shark, but with ourselves as well, just you and I, and talking about what we see coming in. We know Chopper and Hera make it to Yavin.
Yes.
You see Chopper in Rogue One. You see the Ghost. You hear General Syndulla be called over the PA system. Zeb, who knows? Zeb's kind of the wild card where he could go. So, but I'm excited for the rest of the season to see where we go. We have a few more several episodes left. So, I'm hoping that we have obviously another visit by Ahsoka Tano. Whether they put her back in the season or they put her into something else, they've already said that they are going to bring her back. That she will have a role within Lucasfilm. When they say that, it could be either Star Wars Rebels. It could be in the animated universe, or it very well could be within
Yeah,
live
that's
action
true.
TV or film. So there's plenty of time to do this, and so there's plenty of areas that she can fall into. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. So again, it kind of fell flat, but all in all, it is progressing the story. It's kind of giving us that tie-in with the film universe a little bit more as well. Um, unfortunately, it wasn't one of my favorites. You had said it earlier. Not all of them have to be, not all of them are going to be great. Sometimes we have fillers, even though this is a major filler,
Yeah.
basically. Um, we get to the end of this story, and they talk to um, uh, Commander Soto and Bail Organa, and they basically said, you know what? We have pictures of things. We couldn't get what we needed because we were getting bombarded. We were getting attacked. We had to use it in order to escape. Um, and I do like the way they ended it and say, you know what? This may not prove to the Senate that this is happening, but from the pictures and everything else, it may bring other people to the cause, which helps build the Rebel Alliance, which I think is kind of cool the way that they put that, because I think this is that piece that says, okay, this is how we're getting bigger. This is how we're having we're having more sex, we're having more groups from other planets join us. As we know, in, of course, A New Hope, they disband the Senate. And so, we're just laying those seeds that we've already seen in the films, which I think was a nice little touch. All right, so that was that one. Now let's get into Taboo. I love the fact that there's so much great content out there. You and I, we just went through all of Westworld. There is, you've been watching the show on Freeform Beyond. I'm watching Man in the High Castle, but on Tuesday was this new show, Taboo, on FX.
And I liked how, we saw the previews and we picked it and went, you know what, let's start watching this. This is going to be something that we're going to spoil it. And I'm so happy that it worked out.
Yeah.
It previewed Tuesday night, and I think in my opinion, and we rated this in our earlier podcast, we both rated it mint. We both, gave it an M. Now, for those of you who don't know what Taboo is a show on FX that stars Tom Hardy. It's set in 1814 London. Hardy plays James Keziah Delaney. He's an heir to a shipping fortune who's thought to be dead, and he was in Africa for 10 years. His family never saw him. So after a decade, he returns to London and basically to inherit his father's fortune. Well, what we find out is nothing really much of a fortune.
Yeah.
Other than this plot of land that people are going to be fighting over. So there's a lot of things within this show that you kind of go, I mean, the title alone, or the name of the show, Taboo, is just takes you in different areas mentally, and you're starting to kind of see why. So, but some of the people who got this show going was Tom Hardy's dad, Edward Chips Hardy, as well as Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders, and of course Ridley Scott is serving as an executive producer. So it's this started out really cool. I mean, I'm liking this a lot.
Yeah, it's nice. It's only 8 episodes, which I think is kind of cool. Very just here's the story I want to tell for the first series. I love the way it started. Here you have like this shadowy figure, coming into, England. It's pouring down rain. He's out in the field. He's digging something up. He's grabbing something. He's riding into 1814 London.
Well, he's burying something out there.
Oh, that's right. He was burying
Yeah.
something. That's right. And here he comes in, and first place he goes is basically to a mortuary where his dad is laying there with the coins over his eyes. And when he leans into his dad and he starts saying basically goes, "Yes, I have sinned," takes the coins off his eyes and walks away out the door, it hooked me right then and there.
Yeah.
Because okay, there's some strong animosity going on here. Reason that he was sent to Africa or went to Africa, they start saying that dad was basically a crazy person. But there's this underlying story that Tom Hardy's character seems to be like, okay, there's something weird going on here, and I'm going to find out why. When he walks into the church at the service, you get to meet his sister, which is a half sister, is the way they explain it, and her husband are sitting in. You have the lawyer turn around and just be like, oh, basically, oh my God, is that who I think it is? He walks down the center aisle. He takes the 2 coins that he stole from his dad and puts in the giving box. And then he just turns around and goes, sits down, and everybody is staring at him, and he says nothing. He does nothing. That was awesome too. I mean, just the way this thing started for me was like, okay, what's going on here? I wanted to know more. I was telling you earlier, I've watched the first 15 minutes, and then of course, it was just a break, so I had to go back and do some other stuff, and then came back at my lunch and consumed the rest of it. All that time between my break and my lunch, I'm just going, man, I want to go see what's happened. I want to see this. I need to see this, I loved where it was going. You have the wake in the pub. The lawyer's looking for him, and they're like, oh, he's outside using the restroom. Well, he wasn't, and he knew something was going on. He sees things that other people can't see,
Right. He's very mystical, you could say. His time in Africa has exposed him to something we don't know yet, but something that's very tribal. And you think that he's just coming in maybe as just a brute, that typical Tom Hardy, you think of Bane, but he may be a brute, but this man is highly, highly intellectual. He's playing everyone. He's playing the different characters. He has a lot of foreknowledge that what's going to be going on. He can see things within people. He can see the truth. He can see the lies that's going on, and that's some of the stuff that really grabbed me. He hasn't been in London for 10 years, but he knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. He knows a lot of truths that people don't think he might know, or thinks that, it's like the whole conversation between he and the manservant that served his dad.
Yes, who basically also said at the time, I needed a brother, and I still need a brother, because I love it. He goes, you're the only one I trust here out of everyone. I trust you with my life, with all that stuff. I loved that, because I'm like, okay, where's this going? How are we going to use this guy?
Right. Well, the fact that he told, the guy, look, I know who my mom really was. I know what her real name was. I know where she came from. And so all these things where even he went, only your dad and I ever knew all that. And he goes, I know everything. He goes, your dad used to go out there and, talk to you within the waves. He goes, yeah, I know. I heard everything.
Yeah, I heard him. Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's like, okay, where is this? What did we get? Where did we go? If you look at some of the pictures that have pulled in from production, you see him in full garb of whatever this native tribe is that he has been in. But I just love these little bits and pieces. It's very fascinating too, that because he has this foresight or whatever this ability or whatever it is to know things, he gets the grave robbers to dig up his dad, because he knows they only buried him so deep, because the sister only paid so much. She didn't want to pay that extra shilling to get him a little 2 feet
Yeah, two
deeper.
shillings. Yeah.
And she's like, well, I paid enough for how much basically I loved him. Um, the doctor does an autopsy on him and he says, give me 20 minutes. When the bell rings, come back. During that time that he is waiting, he starts having visions. He starts experiencing the things that he did on the slave ship that he was on. And I loved how he kept saying, he's all these dead bodies are everywhere. And he's like, you don't have the fear. You don't control me. I'm this, I'm that. And when that big guy, the big slave just steps up and he's walking, he's like, I don't have time for this. I have things to do. And everything disappears and
Well,
then
not
it
only that,
chimes.
but when he was throwing off all the covers on all the dead bodies, he was basically telling them of what they did.
Yes.
What their sins were. And it's like, you're kind of going, holy crap.
Yes.
So he's seeing things. It's almost like that sixth sense kind of thing, where, and not really that he sees dead people, but, the whole, I know your sins. I know what you do. And even in that final scene when he's there with the shipping company, he keeps looking at the guy who's writing all the notes. He kind of going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's
And
this
that's
guy
kind of us building up to that point, because that
Yeah.
is probably my favorite scene of the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
As we find out, the mortician basically says, no, there's arsenic. Your father was basically killed over a period of time. That would mess with his mind, and it would make him crazy. And so, then he goes back to his, the gentleman who runs the house basically, and says, he was looking for money and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, well, what about this? And it's like, your father hasn't been there in like 8 years. And he's like, okay, well, we need to go take care of that. Goes down there. We meet another character who's basically running a whorehouse out of there.
Yeah.
And then you see the Tom Hardy that is the tough guy, even more. Where
Frank Potenta or his name is like that.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. And when he says, yeah, she's trying to bribe him with all this stuff, and he's like, oh, I'll give you half the profits, all this stuff. And he's like, you have 2 hours to get out of here. And then she threatens him. And when she threatens him, and then he turns around and was basically like, no, you don't want to go there, because basically, because I'm a savage, I will kill you and eat you. There will be nothing left of you. And then she's like, oh, but there was a character up in the attic that kept looking through the things, just like, okay, who's this going to be? And then, again, he says, you have 2 hours and make sure you're prompt, basically, and then takes off. And then we find him walking on the River Thames and comes across, and I don't know if I heard this right, but was that his uncle that was lashing out at him? I thought I heard him say, well, you don't even ask how you're, I think he said, you don't even ask how you're.
I don't think it was actual relative. I think it was just someone that he hooked up with to dump this child with.
Yeah, which is my understanding is his illegitimate child. He wants to make sure he's taken care of. Yes, my dad was supposed to be doing it. It didn't happen.
Is it his child or is it his stepbrother?
So my understanding, I thought that it was his kid. And he wants nothing to do with him, which, later on, of course, will have something to do with him, because otherwise, why bring that in?
Well, I have a small theory in regards to this, because the title of the series is called Taboo, and with the letter that he read at the end from his half sister.
Oh yeah.
Keep the secrets, keep them buried. I'm starting to think that he had some sort of relations with his half sister.
Which it could be true, because remember, he did say, just remember, the one thing here is that I still love you.
Right. And so I'm starting to think maybe that child, that 10-year-old kid or whatever, how old he is maybe their child.
Which makes sense. I'll agree with that. I'll go with that. I think that's probably where it's going to go, and that's why they're trying to hide him. because they don't want anything to come out of that with the dealings that we have coming up, because we know that we meet the East India Shipping Company. They're talking about the will. The lawyer basically tells them that, hey, he owns it. So they're going to do anything they can in order to get it, because this piece of land that he owns is very vital to not only England, the East India Company, America, because you have this war going on between England and America at this time. You've got all this stuff on it. Opens a huge door. And he has this meeting with the East India Company, and I loved this entire portion. This thing was awesome. He walks in, they're introducing themselves like any meeting anybody would do.
Right.
I can't remember which character it was, but he's like, oh, no. He wouldn't let him finish a sentence, because he's like, the one thing I hate more than anything is oh gosh, what's the word he used? But like, basically, I can't stand hypocrites. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Hypocrisy.
And he sits down. Yeah, hypocrisy, yes. And he sits down, and of course the head guy, played by, is it Jonathan Pryce?
Yeah.
He's like, well, can he just finish a sentence? And of course, no response. And so he's like, yeah, they start talking about this piece of land, which is close to Vancouver Island, that is essential, for what there is. And they say, what's a fair price? And here's
Actually,
an envelope.
Part of Vancouver Island.
Yes. And so what is a fair price? They give an envelope, and the guy's like, oh, just open it. And he's like, no, you don't understand. It's not for sale. And Jonathan's Pryce goes off the rails on him.
Yeah.
And when he does that, you just sealed your fate, because this is, again, Tom Hardy at his best. And he lays out pretty much everyone in there, not physically, but mentally, because he's like, oh, I know this. I know that England and America.
It was severe verbal repertoire. And he was like, I know what's going to be happening here. And so the America and British, treaty, they're sitting down tomorrow at this place, this time. And basically, whoever has that small deed, which I own, I will then own the entire island.
Yes, because not only that. Yeah, because then he also tells them, is not only that, but it opens up the trade route into Asia.
Yeah, to China. Yeah.
And that's what they want. And then he's like, so it's not for sale. And it's basically, good day, gentlemen. And he just walks away. And I'm like, that is awesome. And then here's the thing where we know that they will go to anything, because Jonathan Pryce's character basically says, he's all yours, which means go kill the guy.
Yeah.
If you kill him, we know we can get this through the sister and her husband, because they're willing to sell it.
And he's a total dirtbag too, her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh.
Yes. Yeah, that guy right off the bat, and it's like, that's why that letter at the end was great, because it's a second letter going, basically, I wrote this because my husband was, hovering over me.
A different letter, because he got some other letter earlier, and she's going, hey, the letter you got earlier was written under the direction of my husband.
Yep.
This is a true letter. And he's just still going, reading it, and then he just burns it, whatever.
Yeah, as he's reading it, he just starts burning it at the same time.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I already knew that. That's basically how I saw it. It's like, no, I know this crap. Well, you don't have to tell me. And then it ends.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
an hour long too.
You're just like, what? Really? Okay. Where are we going? What sold it for me is, at first you're kind of like, okay, where's this going? Where's this going? Tom Hardy doesn't say a whole lot through the whole movie. When he does, you're listening. But that whole scene in the East India Company basically says, okay, I'm watching this. I don't know where it was for you that basically said, oh, I'm glad I'm watching this. So what was it though for you?
Gosh. I think it was the actual funeral scene.
Oh, so or even earlier.
Yeah, okay. Him walking in, and then what really grabbed me was when the lawyer went outside the pub to, fake pee.
Yes.
And he just kind of comes out of nowhere. He knew he was going to come outside and find him, and so he was waiting around the corner. He pops out. He's like, "I know you're not pissing. I don't hear the sound," And so he calls him out on his BS. He goes, "What do you want?"
Yes.
And he even kind of tells him he knows what he's going to say.
Yeah.
So
I love it because he's like, "Oh, just send it to me."
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is getting good. I'm gonna like this show.
Yeah, there's
and
a
so
lot
that's
of
kind
stuff.
of grabbed me.
Right
It grabbed me early on, and this is kind of sound funny, but I had to kind of retrain my ears watching the series because of the accents, of the way he talks, because it reminds me a lot of hanging out with your family early on.
Gotcha.
What?
Yeah,
What?
say that again.
What?
Especially my dad.
Yeah, you catch on, and so what they're saying. So it didn't take me long to kind of grasp and you really get through that, because I know people who would watch this show and get frustrated, go, what, what, and they have to go back and rewind and rewatch, and I only do that for one scene. So, but I'm digging it so far. We both gave it an M for mint. This is going to be a show that I really look forward to.
Yes, I do too. I'm
worried about the time slot, the day and time it comes on. But
gotcha.
I think if it stays the way it stays with the strong writing, which is what is really going to drive this TV show, because it's not a high intake action type thing.
You're right. Yeah, it's not.
It's a very complex writing, which I think is going to be really nice.
Yeah, and there's story to it. There's there's intrigue to it. There's corruption. There's this. I'm a big fan of period pieces. I enjoy Poldark. Downton Abbey was a good one. Let's see some of the other ones that there's a few other ones that I like. This was really gritty. It really, for me, depicted what London looked like at that time. How it was operating, the people there. You can kind of see, like, when you go into the East India Company, it's all prim and proper, like a gentleman's club. Here they are, it's tea time, silverware, all that. And then you get the other half where it's dirty and grimy and they're just busting their butts to do everything. And yeah, I look forward to where this is going. So
yeah, I like the authenticity of it. It reminds me a lot of the show, which unfortunately was canceled, of Copper.
Yes, yeah, a little bit of that. One of the other ones too, kind of took me to was it Ripper Street? All the Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
that too. Those period pieces for me, I mean, really pull me in, especially if it's related to England. And I don't know, I can't wait. Yes, it's only 8 episodes, but if you can tell your story within those 8 episodes, by all means, do it.
Well, it opens up the door to more seasons, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Peaky Blinders. Short little seasons, short little stories. Tom Hardy in there as the Jew is fantastic. That character in there just blows me away, and we're getting a little of him in this, but a whole new character. I am looking forward to the remainder of these episodes.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think so too. So, I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No, I think I'm looking forward to next week. I think next week's gonna be good.
I am too. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I think I'm really gonna watch this one again just to see if I've missed anything. But all in all, just to watch him again, rip those guys apart within that meeting. So, a little announcement for everybody who's watching. Um, come February 1st, we're also going to jump into season 2 of The Expanse. And our first episode for that will be on February 8th. And so stay tuned for that. So I think on the 8th, we'll have 3 shows. We'll have Rebels, is it the last episode of Taboo, and then the first episode of The Expanse.
Yeah, we're gonna have a couple weeks that we'll have like 3 shows we're exploring it.
Exactly. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, and jumping back into that universe, which will be good. So, Chad, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Chad Griffin 12, over on Instagram at DJ Kilt, and of course on Facebook at Chad Goodwin, and of course on our website constantcollectible.com.
Right on. And of course, I'm Simon. You can find me on Twitter at C_collectible. You can find me on Instagram at C_collectible. Of course, our website, constantcollectible.com. Our email is constantcollectible@gmail.com. We are live every Thursday night after our regular show. That is typically on 8 Pacific. A lot of times our previous show runs a little long now because we changed the format, so we're right on after that. So typically we're looking about 9:15-ish, I would say. And let us know what you guys think. Are you watching these shows? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you have any predictions? Let us know. Shoot us an email, whatever it is. We'll be back next week with more Star Wars Rebels and more Taboo. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.
Take care.